Oh.
No one told you
Over there, your joint over there. Let's see. Just be around.
Hi everyone, this is Lakshman. I'm here. Deepa, hi.
Good evening, sir.
Hello, good morning, good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
All right. Very good evening. I'm just waiting. Let's wait for another 5 minutes, and then at 4 o'clock sharp, please get in the speakers. We still have another 6 minutes to go. Well, I can see Mr. Lakshman. Welcome, Mr. Lakshman Kandarpa. We're still waiting, sir. At 4, we'll start. Can we unmute Mr. Lakshman, please?
उम्मीद वाली धूप, सनशाइन वाली आशा, रोने की वजह कम है, हंसने के बहाने ज्यादा, फिर है मुस्कुराएंगे, खुश रहने का है वादा, उम्मीद वाली धूप, सनशाइन वाली आशा। तुम्हें दिल से अगर पूछोगे, वो खुश रहना ही चाहे, जब सच्ची मन से मांगो, तो खुल जाती है राहें, तो खुल के खुशी लुटाओ, ये क्या है आधा आधा। उम्मीद वाली धूप, सनशाइन वाली आशा, उम्मीद वाली धूप, सनशाइन वाली आशा।
When are we starting?
Yes. So please tell me when it's 4. Welcome, Mr. Arun Chanda. Welcome to the forum. Can we unmute Mr. Chanda also, please?
Yes, ma'am, he is already unmuted.
Okay. So we will, please let me know when it's 4 o'clock sharp. We are also waiting for Dr. Jain, our HOD Surbhi Jain, to join us in, and then we'll start our session.
Yes, ma'am is here with us.
All right.
Yeah.
Ma'am, we'll wait till 4 and then we'll start because it's another 2 minutes to 4. Maybe you can put the video again, the students, and then we'll start at 4.
Just 3 minutes to go, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you, Sankeet.
So, is the voice clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Arun. Yes, Chef.
Yes,
Your voice is clear.
All right. How about Lakshman?
Hi
Arun, hi Deepa. Good to see you all.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Lakshman and Mr. Chanda, to take the time out today on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and joining us.
It's our pleasure anytime.
Hello, Deepa madam.
Yes, madam.
You can play some music.
Please
Can we-
put the screen with Dr. Jain, please. Dr. Surbhi Jain, Sanket. Ma'am wants to say something.
Yes, ma'am.
So
She's
when-
already on mute.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's my honor and privilege to welcome all on behalf of Department of Management Sciences, Savitribai Phule Pune University. We are extremely honored to have amongst us today Arun Chanda, founder and CEO of Hospitality, Mr. Lakshman Kandarpa, CEO More Retail Private Limited, and Mr. Rajan Pai, head Coach Apparel Private Limited. He is the head HR. So a very warm welcome to our esteemed panel. I also welcome Dr. Deepa Prasad, moderator for today's panel discussion, Dr. R.T. Prabhu, all students, faculty members who have joined from other colleges. And it's a very important time for all of us sitting at home. We can learn and we can share our ideas with each other, and retail is a very important sector. So looking forward to hearing from all our panelists. Thank you so much, Deepa madam. You can take it ahead.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jain. Dr. Surbhi Jain, Professor and Head of Department, PUMBA, Department of Management Sciences, Savitribai Phule Pune University. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, madam.
Thank you, Dr. J.
Thank you, sir, and hearty welcome to you.
We have another minute to go before we start. So we'll start at 4 sharp.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. Last minute to go.
Yes, please let us know when it's 4. Thank you.
Yes,
Sanket.
ma'am. We are live now. It's 4 o'clock. Let's go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much. A very good evening to all from Department of Management Sciences, Savitribai Phule Pune University. A warm welcome on behalf of Dr. Surbhi Jain, our HOD, all faculty members of PUMBA. This is our second edition of our webinar series. I am Dr. Deepa Prasad Venkatraman, the moderator for today's session. We'd like to welcome our speakers, the very esteemed speaker, Dr. Lakshman Kandarpa, Mr. Arun Chanda, Mr. Lakshman Kandarpa, Mr. Rajaram Pai will join us shortly. Our fellow faculty members, students, participants, a lot of parents and other people will join us today. Thank you, Dr. Jain, for your address. Before we begin into our topic for today, which is retail survival and revival, a little brief about our course, which is just a pioneering course started 2 years back. The name of our course is BBA Hospitality and Facility Management. It's a unique course of a 3-year full-time graduate, which focuses both on business administration, management, and intricacies of hospitality and facility management, which includes corporate and retail management. This opens into a plethora of spectrum of corporate and service sector. The eligibility for applying for a course is open to all streams. It's there on our website, www.pumba.in. Our admission form for the academic year 2020-21 will open shortly in another week or so, and so shall be the entrance exam, All India entrance exam for the course declared. The date is not out yet. So going back to why we all are here today is most of us are still in the COVID lockdown. And our topic for today is, of course, retail, survival, and revival. I would like to begin the session to first I'll introduce my very esteemed panel to have a bit of an idea on why they are the true professionals to speak on this and our way ahead. Our first speaker for today is Mr. Lakshman Kandarpa. He's a Chief Operating Officer of More Retail Limited, Mumbai, India's third largest network of supermarket chain. He's a thorough retail professional who really transformed retail in India over the last 26 years. He's been associated with very reputable formats like More, Big Bazaar, Vinland, Hypermarket Operation, to name a few. Mr. Lakshman has been the winner of the very prestigious Chairman's Distinguished Achiever from Mr. Birla of the Aditya Birla Group. No small feat in any condition. He was awarded the Outstanding Student of the Year at the Indian School of Business in Hyderabad, an alumni also of the Magna School of Business and IHM. Today, in retail, he oversees a network of 625 stores spread across India, manages a team of 9,000 plus employees, and delivering annual revenue of over 4,000 crores. He is a professional mentor to all his colleagues and mentors. Please go to his LinkedIn profile and you'll understand. A true believer that if you want to really go far like him, you need to do it together. A team player, and more importantly, he's been steering his team during this COVID lockdown as they continue to supply very essential services through their retail outlets. So a warm welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Our second speaker for today, Mr. Arun Chanda, is a founder and CEO of Mint Hotels and Restaurants Consultancy. He is also the director of a very unique concept called Six Strings and a Frying Pan. Please go to the website and you'll understand. He's joining us from Delhi today. Mr. Chanda has changed in his own unique way the face of hospitality trends and has been an innovator. He has opened outlets across India, USA, Norway, Jordan, Switzerland, just to name few across the globe. A very seasoned, a talented master chef of the cuisine, a mixologist, and a very passionate, a well-known singer, composer. And if I can say that he blends music into all his operations and preparation. A graduate from IHM, he has a repertoire of experience of over 25 years in various hospitality chains, just to name a few brands of five-star hotels, international flight kitchens, premium standalone restaurants, banqueting MNCs, such as Radisson, Ambassador, Oberoi Flight Kitchen, etc. His expertise in food and beverage, planning and operation, giving 360 degrees turnkey solution, and standardization is legendary. He's associated with almost all corporates in India and the globe. If I have to start listing, we will. But to name a few, it includes the Nestle, Maggie Group, Cafe House, Mind Cafe, Bombay Velvet in US, etc. Today, Mr. Chanda has a rich experience in developing food and beverage retail concepts and all diners, fine dining restaurants.
बोल ना आकाश बरं ठीक आहे मी बघतो थांब
More lounges and hospitality organizations. Mr. Chanda, warm welcome again. The third speaker for today is Mr. Rajaram Pai. He is the head of human resources of Soch Apparel, which is a premier retail organization based in Bangalore. He's head of human resources. He was before head of human resources of Barbecue Nation Hospitality Limited, as well as of Hypermarket, a senior HR manager with a pan-India presence. He's consistently won the Best HR Award while his stint in Barbecue Nation. He is known by his friends for his very grassroots level, larger-than-life personality. Today he will give us the views of HR on retail policy post-COVID. Mr. Rajaram Pai is running late and we are hopeful that he will join us after some time for the panel discussion. Well, for the moment we all are waiting for, we would like to begin with Mr. Lakshman Kandarpa, who will give us today, being in the hot seat on what the view is of retail. I repeat, our topic for today is retail, survival, and most importantly, revival, the road ahead. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Kandarpa.
Thank you, Deepa. You're going to project that presentation that I've shared?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay.
Sanket, can you put the projection of the presentation?
Sure, ma'am. Just a minute.
So while Sanket is setting it up, I must thank you all for taking such keen interest and wanting to know, showing some keenness to know about retail. I know it's currently it's not directly related to your field of education, but it's very exciting to see so many of you, showing interest and wanting to know what's happening to this sector. Of course, I also have a selfish motto to ensure that you all know what happens in retail and hopefully pursue careers in retail as you go forward. So what I will take you through in this presentation is give you a sense of what's happening in the mind of a customer. It's important to know what's happening in his psyche or her psyche, so that it sets the base for the future actions of our format. And in my conversations, I will be focusing largely on food and grocery part of retail. Retail, as you know, is a large industry and covers various formats. And just to give you a context, there are lifestyle brands, there are apparel retailers, there are grocery retailers, there are jewelry retailers. At this point in time, once the COVID has taken off or hit, uh, pretty much everybody is shut, and we are yet to, you know it as customers yourselves, we are yet to open up stores for all the non-essential commodities. So the only part of retail that's active and kicking right now is the food and grocery retail. I must say I feel privileged to be part of it. And therefore, I have also more sense and more idea of what's happening in the market. And I think I can do some amount of crystal ball grazing and understand what's likely to come forward. So we can get started when Sanket puts up the deck. Or is it, should I share the screen? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you please have the PPT, please?
Yes.
Before, while he sets it up, let me also give you some amount of insights on how our retail operations have been. As a CEO of 625 store network with a pan-India presence, it's been an extremely challenging period in the last 45 days for us.
Is it okay, sir? Hello?
हाँ सर 100च्या वरती जात नाही येते हो तेच लॉगिन आहे माझ्याकडे साईन इन गुगल करतोय आणि मला काहीतरी लायसन्स देतो पण तरी सांगतो जसं त्याचं
Getting prepared to embrace is the fact that there is an economic recession around the corner. 87% of these customers also express concerns about and ability to repay the loans, and also the longevity of this economic recession. There is a larger fear across, and you'll be able to see it. You can place it on slides. whoever, Sanket, if you can place it on slideshow. Am I audible, Sanket?
So you are audible. It looks like there is an issue with the system.
Okay.
If you don't mind, could you go ahead?
Okay, fair enough. Let me get then. So from an economic sense, it's the recession that's occupying the customer's mindset, and from a daily lifestyle, how do they see their life change? Obviously, the social distancing, and the fact of the day is that all our customers, 82% of our customers realize and accept the fact that they're going to be working from home. So you can imagine what's occupying there. You can see what's occupying the customer's mind. The fact that health is something to be very careful about. Economically, I need to be watchful about what I can afford. And in terms of lifestyle, the fact that I'll be sitting at home, I will be staying indoors and not going out. And even whenever there is a ease of lockdown, the customers don't see themselves flocking to the next big bazaar sale, or any of the shopping events that are likely to come forward. So the reality is the lifestyle is going to change for our customers, and I think the customers are going to are actually coming in terms with this. So with this realization, it is having, or it is expected that there are certain sectors which are likely to have a far strong impact of this. uh, the known sectors are around of home entertainment, mobiles. In fact, if there's presentation is there, we could have seen, but I think there is a very clear sector-wise. The slide next to it, you can go, Sanket. So there is this sector-wise understanding. In fact, 71% of the customers feel that they're not going to be undertaking any more home constructions or renovations. Okay. Close to 60% of the customers are, actually higher than 60% of the customers are not going to undertake any vacations or travel in the next 6 months. Close to, again, another 60% are not going to be going to watch movies in the movie halls. So it's a lifestyle changing experience, I must say, that we're going through. And this is a reality that our businesses, including retail, has to come to terms with. However, what's also seen is that there are certain kinds of categories which are seeing a growth, largely around the exercise where we spoke to some of our customers who visit our stores. And I mean, it relates with what we just spoke, right? I mean, there are 61% of our customers who fear, stepping out for the fear of catching virus. We have 50% of the customers who are, cognizant of lockdown and do not see themselves coming out. So all in all, what it is telling us is there are sectors that are likely to grow. There are sectors that are likely to be down, and there are emerging realities from a customer shopping habit that I think all retailers have to be cognizant about. And that to me is the way forward. And retailers who are able to identify these changing times and take actions that are going to go in line with these customer habits are going to emerge winners. So I did a I did again another survey with a couple of customers, and when we did this previous before COVID, and if you you can probably relate to this as a customer, and if you say what would be the basis of your choice to visit a retail store, let's call it food and grocery retail store, the word cloud throws up terms like discounts, promos, deals, and some amount of hygiene and offers and quality. That was how it was pre-COVID. Post-COVID, it's all about quality, about hygiene, it's about convenience, it's about ambience, about fresh, and it is about social distancing. So what customer wanted before the 15th of March to what the customer wants now, I think the world has changed, and this new world is going to be the new order. And my bet is that there would be a lot more premium customers who would attach to retailers who are working on these aspects, which is convenience, hygiene, and quality. So from a safety point of view, the customers would look for how a retailer is compliant to the sanitizing norms, how social distancing is the DNA of that store or that format, how a retailer can provide no touch or minimum touch products. These are things that we will keep hearing a lot more, and going forward, I think this is going to be the new norm, where there's a premium. I'm sure some of you must have already seen the ad that Domino's releases, which is a zero contact delivery. So these are the new things, new expectations that I think retailers and manufacturers are going to be playing a lot more strongly on. What levers will a retailer deploy for driving convenience? I think e-commerce, which was at its very nascent stage before COVID, I think e-commerce can thank the COVID virus for bringing in a transformation of business. My bet is that e-commerce and online business is going to go through a massive, change, transformation of sorts, and that business is up for, good times ahead. Uh, Retailers like us who are brick and mortar retailers are going to be amplifying with presence in e-commerce, and also doing basically taking up an omni play where you find every ways and means of reaching the customers. We are also in a very active stage, or I would say in the final stage of rolling out a WhatsApp delivery as a tool, as an option, so that my mom who lives in Hyderabad doesn't have to log into an e-commerce portal and use complicated forms to fill, and she can order things on WhatsApp. So I think these are the levers that are going to be playing up for a lot many retailers. And from a quality assurance, what customers would be expecting is, where is this being sourced? In India, I think we haven't been very watchful on that, and I'm hoping that there will be a transformation. And customers will seek to get a lot of confidence on how the product that they are consuming, how it is being processed, and who's handling it. So there is going to be far more awareness. I mean, it used to always pain me personally to think of the fact that we in India buy footwear from a air-conditioned store and use it on our feet, and we buy products that we consume from the footpath. I hope this coronavirus is going to change that transformation and create certain level of urgency on being far more hygienic, and that's going to be the expectation I see retailers will have to deliver. Let me pause here and ask, Deepa, how was it? You want a question answer after this or during this period? Any reactions or any thoughts?
Hello, sir. You could continue. My name is Aarti. You could continue, and we'll be taking the
Okay.
Q&As soon after the session.
Fair enough. Got it. Okay. So with this context, I see a lot of retailers and brands having almost recognized the change of of expectation immediately. And if you see the ads, whether it is the TV commercials or online, they're all into cult fit. I think cult fit is a clear example of recognizing the change and how they instantly moved out from the physical gyms to being a live streaming application. It's a wonderful example of understanding what the customer needs and making that drift and swift change immediately. uh, Samsung, for a change, now talks about sanitizing services. I mean, we all heard about Samsung and various other services, but Samsung now talks about sanitizing services as a case in point. So I think a lot of organizations will now be fighting it out in various fields on the subject of being the best on safety, on hygiene, and that's going to be the way forward for a lot of retail chains. So that's how I see food and grocery retail go for a change. There's another part, but I think I will keep that to a separate part of it. Maybe we can hear Deepa, and then we'll come to the impact of how this change is going to come on students and how all of you will personally be impacted. But let's hear from Arun, Chanda also, and then come back to that maybe. Deepa, that works? You're on mute.
Hello, I think
Thanks, thanks so much, Mr. Lakshman. Yes, essential services. For many of us now, we realize the amount of work which has gone in for provision through the various retail markets. We really appreciate that. It's not easy across stores to provide and keep the chain going before it really comes to the end users. Yes, before we really have a discussion on the same topic, let's listen to the views of Mr. Chanda on the same, on how do we go ahead, on what the current situation is. Over to you, Mr. Arun Chanda.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me in this discussion panel. So I'm from the F&B industry, and it has been the hit. F&B industry is hit in a very bad way. All of us know. Most of the people have stopped going out and can't go out. Restaurants are closed. People are having a tough time. So in this situation, we have to think first how to survive, and then later we have to think how to revive. So we have to survive to revive. And so first thing, I think if we talk about survival, I think we have to think about creating the funding system first. Like all the owners, business owners, they have to figure out their fund flows for the next 6 months or 1 year down the line, because there's no flow of revenue and then there's no top line. Bottom line is a far, far distant dream. And in this kind of a situation, how do we cope up? So there should be, I think, a lot of support from the government that is required. Like moratorium, people have already done it. I think government is already doing it, moratorium on loans and stuff like that. But I think they have to, they have to work further with the industry for the and help the industry people to survive in this kind of a scenario. Maybe they have to increase the loan period from to a longer tenure. They have to relax. They have some relaxation on tax, commercial rate of electricity tariff. These kind of stuff will be required from the government. The property owners also, like the owners of malls and commercial spaces, they also need to support the industry now, because the rentals are very high and it's very difficult to survive with very high rentals, commercial rentals, because there is no revenue coming in. So to make a business viable, I think a lot of people, like we have to work together, like the government, the retail space owners, the operators, they have to all be together and figure out a way which is a win-win for everyone, and that's how we have to move forward. So we have to really think in a very innovative way, be supportive to each other, stay positive also. We have to like with a just do it attitude. We have to kind of figure out. We can't be negative and think that things are not working and stuff like that. We have to follow the change as this show must go on. So the government has already laid down some rules. The FSSAI, WHO has laid down certain rules for hygiene and sanitization for hospitality and retail stores and everything, and like modifying that. But we have to modify the checklist according to our business models, because every business model is different, whether it's a QSR or cafe or fine dining establishment or a dark kitchen. Everybody's format is so different. So we have to, again, modify those checklists according to our own business requirement and needs. And then also we have to develop a reporting mechanism for COVID response, which is also very important. Then powerful audit mechanism should be also in place, like third-party audit maybe. Making a training schedule for the staff members, that is also very important. We need to train the trainers and conduct regular training for the staff. Modify this all things according to the local authorities. We will have different rules and regulations according to the local authorities. We have to follow them, and we have to emerge. The business in food retail will be food delivery business, and also take account to some extent QSRs. But it is more challenging for the bigger restaurants with larger formats, seating of 50 to 100 people, paying huge amount of employees to make their business viable. So they also have to think very out of the box, think innovative, and see how they can make it a viable business for themselves. So they have to rethink their business models. They have to balance cost and pricing strategies. They have to make their business viable. So another thing is that we have to rely a lot on technology now, because our industry is a very high touch point industry, and due to COVID-19, people are very aware of their health and hygiene and sanitization right now. So we have to actually invest on technology and reduce the human touch as much as possible. So that is also one challenging thing, because a lot of people are not in India, especially, not used to using technology, and they're more used to working in a traditional way. So it's a kind of a paradigm shift for those people. So we have to take it as an opportunity to learn and move ahead, and use technology as much as possible and reduce the human portion. And we have to be flexible with our policies, like booking policies or cancellations or whatever. Offer confidence and safety to the client. That is very important at this moment. We have to follow social distancing, change seating plan inside the restaurant accordingly, follow respiratory hygiene, hand sanitization. Food handlers, both at the back of the house, kitchen area and service area, should wear masks and hand gloves. Sanitize every table, touch points before and after a guest comes or leaves. Before entry, check the body temperature and offer sanitizer at the gates. Put posters and hygiene slogans and safety posters all around the place at relevant places inside a restaurant. Kind of constant reminder has to be given, at a conscious level and also at a subconscious level. So that quality and hygiene and stuff like that is maintained. And also customers would prefer having their food in a kind of eco-friendly, good quality disposable crockery and cutlery to feel safe. So all these things needs to be adopted now. Tangible and visible hygiene sanitizing measures, you know what I mean. So regulation, fumigation, pest control, constant engagement with customers. Okay, so constant engagement with customers is very important at this moment, because you are actually not in touch with your customers because restaurants are shut. So, but you have the list of people. So the retail owners need to constantly be in touch with their customers through some kind of innovative way, maybe a webinar, maybe the chef sharing some healthy recipes and some nutritionist sharing some healthy tips with their customers. So some kind of emotional connect needs to be established between the customer and the business owner, so that when they open up, the customer comes back to them. They can also create a kind of a video for their back-end processes, how they are handling, how they're going to handle way forward, like the purchase methods, how they're going to store the food, how they're going to prepare the food, maintaining social distancing, how they're going to wash their vegetables, how they're going to use maybe pre-cut meats or processed meats instead of doing their butchery themselves. To adapt to all kind of safety measures and hygiene measures so that the customers get some kind of confidence. But giving that confidence to the customer is very important at this moment. So we have to think all these things as opportunities rather than thinking like challenge, because if you think that all these things are a challenge for us, it will be very difficult for all the business owners to move forward. But people who can think that this is an opportunity to create change and make it more hygienic and safety for the people, also for the workers, I think that is the key at this moment. That's the new normal. So we have to follow this change. That is the most important thing. Also, we need to create a balance between technology and human interventions. So we can't depend everything on technology because this is hospitality. At the same time, we have to figure out how we can balance between the both. So creating new systems and procedures, new SOPs will be the key. Because systems work, people fail. Systems always work. People need to follow the systems and then it'll work. That is how it should be. And for business growth, I think we need to have value-added offerings, offering hospitality at home. That's the new trend. Now people who can't go to the restaurant, they can get a chef at home, and they can get the same kind of experience at home. That can be another new trend and a good business idea for the restaurant owners. Get online reviews from the client is also very important after COVID-19, because that will also build confidence on the retail stores. So many new business ideas will evolve, I'm sure, because after things like this, after any recession kind of period, a lot of new business ideas also come from different people. People think out of the boxes. A lot of new entrepreneurs are born. So I think, yeah, it's a challenging thing, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for us because people are not going to move anywhere. We have a captive market in front of us, and how we can, cater to them and cater to their needs, we have to figure out. Deepa?
Thank you so much, Mr. Arun Chanda. I think you've given a comprehensive outlook, and it's obviously, there are two aspects to it. As I think we have to be positive. There's always a silver lining to every situation. COVID-19 is something which is, for the first time all over the globe, is affected with something which is similar. And so we need to re-strategize both in retail as well as in hospitality on how do we go forward. And to a lot of students who are here, we have graduate of hospitality, we have MBA students, and we have budding people who want to enter this industry. My question to both of you all, like a panel discussion and a lot of discussion which are coming out here, is that how do you rethink, even if you have in a retail place, as well as standalone, the business models which will be workable in the next 6 months to go forward, to get the customers out, or to deliver to the customers? I would like to give an example that some of us, I think, are facing. For example, retail has come home now because many of these outlets are coming to society and are putting their dry provision or the wet provision in a week if the societies are big. So that's an idea which we have never thought a big brand would do before. But we going instead of to the retail market, they are coming to the society. So obviously we're seeing a change in trend. but that goes again. I'm looking at both the aspect, retail as well as an F&B outlet. What would you do in the next 6 months for survival, and it's also revival?
I think keeping safety first, we have to think about ideas of how to deliver food in a hygienic way and promote delivery. Focus on delivery. Focus on the restaurant experience at home kind of business models. Also, if you have a restaurant with seating of 100 people, you have to reduce your seating maybe by 50% and create the social distancing and give the customer the confidence that you are following all the norms laid down by WHO or FSSAI, and build that confidence is very important. Building that confidence of health and sanitization and safety will be the primary thing. And beyond that, there will be innovative ideas of giving value-added offerings, some discounts, or maybe some special healthy food menu can be created. Immunity buildings, recipes. So these things we have to figure out. Everybody knows how, because every restaurant is the same. So there'll be a lot of competition as well. So whoever can, add up to the systems faster and act faster will be always ahead in the business.
Here I want to ask Mr. Chanda, because you work extensively in putting up standalone restaurants all over. And they've come to a grinding halt now. And we're also talking about F&B. You also work largely in a lot of F&B chains which are there in a retail market or in a mall. And here we're talking about physical distancing, if not social distancing. I think that's a word which everyone is talking now about. But we also have to at some point start walking and start doing the thing. So how would you change the customers coming to you? The perception will completely change. So what would you advise them now ahead? And I'll also, after you speak, I'd like Lakshman also to viewpoint on what would they do on retail, both for food sector and non-food sector.
So as I said, people have to adapt to technology now. And let's say instead of giving a traditional printed menu to a customer, we have to give them QR codes so that they can check the menu on their phones and then place the order. So that's how you will reduce the human touch and increase and maintaining social distancing will be possible if we invest in technology now. So I think technology has a huge role to play, and people need to adapt to all this kind of offerings. And that's the first thing. And and inside the restaurant also, people may need to change the menu a bit. They may be shortened because they can't work with a huge menu with 100 items and nothing is selling, because the people have to reduce their menus. Because they have to prepare their food also, keeping a social distancing, because according to FSSAI, only 2 people can stand within 10 feet inside the kitchen also. So they have to plan their operations in a way that their pre-preparation happens at a particular time and the preparation happens at a particular time. So a lot of things needs to be thought about and planned, and new SOPs needs to be created for the customer. To attract the customers, a lot of training needs to be done, and training is very important right now. The communication with the customer, sending the right message, and building that confidence, that is all that matters now.
Yeah, coming to Mr. Lakshman. So you're the second retail stores all over India. So what steps are you doing to ensure in both the sectors? We're not only talking about food sector, we're talking about complete retail sector. So what are the doable steps which you're taking to get to the customers, to the end users?
I'd like to actually repeat what Arun Chanda was mentioning some time back, which he said is to look at every challenge as an opportunity, which is absolutely spot on. And I think an opportunity converted into an idea is innovation. We are, while I explain, is it possible for us to go to that slide and somebody can keep trying, because I think there's some chart that I would want to take us through if possible. But otherwise also, I think what we have done, Deepa, is as food and grocery retailer who's been in business for a couple of decades, we've always been flirting with the concept of doing WhatsApp deliveries, okay? Or, wanting, or should we not want to do home deliveries as a core of our business has been an internal debate for a fairly long time. Also it comes with a cost that is not sustainable. If I were to look, if you would ask me this question in February, I would have told you, look, Deepa, this isn't working because it's not viable. The outlook changed. I mean, and the reality is different. And today we cannot not be aware of what customer wants and the environment in which the customer would prefer products to come home. So it's no longer a time where we say we are averse to innovation, and those who accept and move fast are going to be winners in this. So we, for example, have, like I was mentioning back, we just, in next week, I think we'll be launching our WhatsApp ordering system. Okay. And guess what? This is also interesting time where a couple of other aligned industries could come together and mutually succeed. Case in point is, if you look at delivery partners like Swiggy or Zomato, or there are many other delivery partners, they're currently out of business. But it takes very enterprising people from businesses like that to identify whose business is active and where home delivery can become their alternate business. So we are actually tying up with new delivery partners. They didn't know about us, we didn't know about them, but this situation that we are in together brought us in. And that's an example of how two ailing businesses slash industries could partner, could come together and use a combination of technology, which is WhatsApp delivery ordering system, and people, which is delivery partners, who can still manage to give the customer products that they want in safety of their homes. So that's a clear example of how we can do that. Two slides before this, please, if we can make it.
Sanket, can you do the needful?
Slide 15. I wanted to show you, this is real data from how top 50 companies in US, two sets of companies who accepted and who were open for innovation, and those companies who didn't adapt or who waited, performed after the 2008 recession in US. This is actual data. Clear 22% delta between the performance of these two companies. The companies that innovate, adapt, take change, and act fast gain in the long term. And that's something that, I believe personally, that's a reality that we should accept. And I think there is another interesting thing, and this is independent of any organization. The slide next, if we can move to it, and this really could be true for our own financial planning for ourselves, which is how we will be changing the new base of what we think is a new normal. Okay, I need slide 16, Sanket, if possible.
Sanket, are you there? Slide 16, please.
So in our business, like all leaders and everybody who owns a P&L, we are always pushed to find more and more ways and opportunities to get more profitable and make more money, right? I mean, and every year for the last couple of decades, we have all been taking an incremental approach in bringing about this change. COVID is not going to let any company work with an incremental approach. Okay, I believe every organization is now going to get their structure back to survival minimum. I think that's going to be the operating word for every organization and I think for all of us as individuals also. We will move our thinking to survival minimum and say, to run this business, whether it is a coffee shop or whether it is a food and grocery chain, or even if it is a shopper stop or a lifestyle, or any kind of brand, it will not make incremental reduction, or improvements will not be incremental. It will be steep and bring it down to survival minimum. Then you look at what needs to be added so that you're not completely off your proposition, and then arrive at a strategic right. That's how the change is going to be. And I think yeah, this is true for airlines for that matter. This is true for travel and tourism. So it's going to be true for all. And I think this is something that we should all brace for and be prepared. Some of us who are already in jobs should be cognizant about this change and evaluate whether you and I are part of the survival minimum, whether you and I would be playing a role in that core strategy. If you're part of these two, I think you're safe. If you're not, get into those. That's what I would say to myself, and that's what I would tell everyone who's working or employed currently.
Right. Yeah. I think we still have them putting you on your slide 16. Yes.
That's okay. I think we can skip that. I talked you through that.
Yeah,
slide. That's
spoke about it. A lot of questions are coming from, of course, students. So I thought I'll come back.
Before we go to the Q&A, I think I would we'll go to the Q&A. Before we go to that, I think I'll give my insights on this is for the students and for all of those who are anxious about what lies ahead, what are the career choices that you should make. I've seen a few questions already, whether what ideas in career. And this is my personal view. So I mean, please take it with a pinch of salt, and you may or may not subscribe to it. But if I were you, if I were in a place that you are in as a student, I would put a lot more premium on pursuing my academics and fortifying my credentials before I take a job. In the environment which I talked to you about, where organizations will go into the bare minimum structure, there is going to be where the organizations will be in their survival minimum. There's going to be a lot of joblessness and a lot of people who will be unemployed. And these are the people who are more experienced and probably a lot more talented than the freshers who will be passing out. So that's the reality that we will be stepping into in case anyone of you is looking for jobs right away. So my suggestion from number 1 to number 10 would be pursue academics. Strengthen your academic credentials before you want to jump into a job. And I know that for quite many that may not be realistic and practical, but for those of you who have to take a job, my strong recommendation is to take a job with a very core operator mindset. Please stay away from any desktop opportunities. Every year we hire hundreds of these young grads in various roles. And I see increasingly the set of people who want to come in are so keen to get into the Monday to Friday 9 to 6 kind of a job, which if I would have said those of them who got it last year were lucky, but from now on you may not want to take those jobs with urgency, because I also believe being an operator myself and having worked for so many years, your future and your career is totally going to be built on the foundation that you lay after you pass from your college. And the longer that you stay being an operator, the more you will know about your business, and the less you will waste time on MIS and analysis and not knowing much about your business. So my strong suggestion to all of you would be to take a job, whichever it is, and wear a core operator kind of a job, and don't take a strategic or semi-strategic back office based job. If you are at crossroads to decide between two jobs, which of these to take, like I told you, there is going to be there are going to be many industries where future is bleak. So stay close to essential services. Stay close to things that you know. The COVID is not disappearing in the next 6 months, right? I mean, it's there, and this is going to change our lives for the next couple of years, and for longer after that. So take a job that's taking care of essential services or essential products, and stay away from things that deal in discretionary shopping. Uh, Subsequently, I would also urge you. We Arun, me, Deepa, and we come from a generation which is a lot of doers. I think we are doers, and that's been our strength. We have been doing things and learning as we kept doing it. I'm cognizant that this millennials are not the same, and I know that you are dreamers, and you bring a lot of set of strengths in that sense. And sometimes I am awestruck with the quality of thinking that I see in these millennials. Uh, but I think right now, being a doer is better thing, I would say. So stay in jobs that would get you to strengthen your muscles, get your foundation strong before you shift your focus from your arms and legs to your brain, and which should be 5-10 years from now. Look for new world. Many new opportunities that will come up. I mean, things like home sanitization, and you deal with facility management also. So home sanitization, I can imagine right now we've not heard of it, but I think as a citizen, we would now want a service where somebody can come once in a week and sanitize my home and go. I would sleep more peacefully if I can get that service. By the way, it is not yet available. Maybe that's an industry that will come. You never know, and you may want to be part of that. Okay, you may want to be for sure associated with food and grocery retail. And now that I'm there, I must tell you that. And things like deal with online entertainment, online education. A lot of changes are going to be there. So be part of things that will be core and not on the fringe. That's my strong suggestion and recommendation. And if at all you can manage career, academic pursuit, and maybe you can think about getting your hobbies to earn money for you. Maybe this is the best time. If you are into music, if you are into dance, if you are a blogger, there is part-time money to be made there, and you can continue with your academics. So those are my 2 cents on what I would do if I were in your place from a future perspective.
Before I go to Arun, thanks, Lakshman. I mean, that's fantastic. There are a lot of teachers out here who are from both these schools as well as from hospitality schools. It's easy to say go back to education, which is never ending, it seems. Educate yourself. The question is, what do we study on? And what do you educate on if the trends have completely changed now, right? Because education system should also gear up to make employable students. So after 2 years, when they come out either from an MBA or from an undergrad, they want employment. And if the sectors are changing, then we also need to rethink what should we read up on, study on. So the question here, a lot of people are asking, will retail still employ in terms of it? And what type of employment will you look? What type of skills will you look? Because that will get a lot of senior educationists out here, the policy makers. They will think, go back and maybe ensure that this skill set is taught to that particular student. And this question is also for Arun, because what would you think, other than being a chef, there's so much of automation, there's so much of pre-cooked food which is used nowadays, pre-packed, hydrogenated, as well as in F&B beverage industry is the biggest booming industry. Maybe there's a silver lining out here. They will get bigger because beverage industry are more equipped to do pre-packed and delivery things, whether it's health drinks or whether it's a cup of coffee or a tea, etc. So the question to both of y'all is that what skill set do we give to our students in the courses?
I don't know if my answer will, satisfy your question, but Deepa and I am speaking really from a retail world that is covering the food and grocery retail. Retail is a very simple business, and it really requires people with ability to do things repeatedly and be a great leader. And I think the rest of it is for people to learn as they go. Where I see the gap, because we keep recruiting a lot of students from these schools, is their expectations out of a career in retail are not aligned to the realities of retail. Okay, in retail, the team, it's all about running the store day in, day out. Typically, if you ever go to a more supermarket or any supermarket for that matter, a day starts and ends with about 326 tasks. Now imagine being in the shoes of a store manager. He or she has to do these 326 tasks 365 days a year. So it's extremely repetitive, and it takes a lot of discipline to be able to do that and not cut the corners, because any corner that he cuts has a direct impact on the business and the customer experience, and it actually can put the organization in deep trouble. So the attribute that we look for is a heavy amount of self-discipline. An attribute that we look for, I think there's no end to the premium that we put on, is the person's ability to influence and motivate his team. And I think that's where the ball drops, and oftentimes that's really the place which distincts people who are successful in retail and to those who are not. And these are the two strong attributes. Furthermore, I think the future of not just for retail and just spreading it across horizon to all industries, there is, we've all heard of all the machine learning tools, Internet of Things, and the whole data management and things like that. I think there are, I'm not, frankly, I'm not equipped to give the right, prescribe the right courses, but I think there is a plethora of things that are there for students to look up. Let me tell you, by the way, I'm just going to be signing up for Python programming myself. I don't even know what it means, but I want to do that. I know there is there, and I think I have a sense that that is going to be the next Excel of our lives. So that's the thing. You need to know where future is going on technology and adapt. It doesn't matter what job you're doing, but you better know that. But again, from a leadership skills, it's very much basic in retail. You need to be disciplined, self-disciplined, and you need to be a good people leader. These are the two things that I would suggest the students here.
Right.
Thank you, Lakshman. That's a very valid point you put, because students now have to have the patience, adapt to eccentric environment, but more than that, the discipline of day to day. There is no shortcut to success. There is day to day work to become a CEO of a company or chief operating officer of a retail management company. It's not a short span. I think you're an example of that. Definitely for a course like ours, which is a BBA course, we are looking students, we're hopeful company like yours, instead of going for MBA, these schools will come to undergrad students for recruitment. We promise you that they will work hard, and maybe
I'm sure. I have no doubt. The fact that they're all here spending the Sunday evening is encouraging enough for me, Deepa.
Yes, Arun, you wanted to come in and say about the same, because Arun knows what the HM students are about. We have also a big group out here of HM students as well as faculty. Yes, Arun.
So yeah, HM students, I should say that, see, the B2B industry is also going to grow now. Okay. So a lot of people will start getting their sauces or gravies or the processed meats and the vegetables from these kind of vendors. And they will avoid doing it themselves at their outlet levels. So people should also look at joining B2B companies, like a lot of people are like VKL Spices, Viva, Jubilant. There are many companies who are like doing great. And this business is growing. Like in the last 5 years, it has really grown many folds. And a lot of, initially the QSRs used to take chains like Burger King and McD and Subway. They used to initially take it from B2B vendors, but now everybody is following them. And a lot of Indian chains are also adapting to the same. Like Barbecue Nation is also getting their gravies and their, the desserts made by somebody somewhere, and they're outsourcing things like with their own recipe, but they're outsourcing. So outsourcing is going to play a major role in the coming years. And also technology, and as I said, that digitally, in digital platforms also, there will be a lot of opportunity. And I myself, I'm doing a course on digital. I have zero knowledge about digital marketing and everything, but I'm doing a course at the moment, to evolve with the market, how I can reach to my clients through a webinar, and maybe build courses, online courses, and sell my courses through webinars and stuff like that. Because things are changing right now. So we have to change with time, and we have to evolve constantly, think out of the box, and do something which is acceptable by the world right now. And it'll take a couple of years for us to evolve, but slowly and steadily, we'll all race towards that. And people who will adapt technology faster, I think they are the people who will do strive in this market.
That comes to a very important question. You keep saying evolve, be out of the box, adapt. Is it a good time for an entrepreneur? I'm asking this to Arun because you gave up a very prospective career at a very peak time and became an entrepreneur. And you are day to day, every day dealing with entrepreneurs in your consultancy. Is it a good time to be an entrepreneur?
I think this is a very good time to become an entrepreneur, because every recession gives birth to entrepreneurs. Like in 2008 also, a lot of people got into the digital space and online platforms, and they made huge money. And so there was a complete shift. So this new generation people, they really think fast, and they have their innovative minds, but people who can implement them faster, I think they're the winners. Because since I'm learning this online marketing and digital thing, I get to know from my mentors that they started in 2008. Most of these American people who got into this business started after 2008. So 2020 will also give birth to a lot of entrepreneurs, because as Lakshman was saying, that let's say home sanitization can become a big opportunity in the coming years. And so people who are getting into new businesses can think about these kind of ideas and start a new business model, and a completely different thing which people have never thought before. So people who can think innovative can understand the demand of the market and work accordingly and create a business module. I think they can create good business for themselves.
I must quote an example of this an entrepreneur in Calcutta. She manages an apparel brand for us, and the situation currently is obvious that apparels are not available for sale. It took 48 hours for her to change her production line to make masks, and she is now actually providing masks, and now, and it's innovation again, right? A new designer mask. So it's for the person. The ability to innovate is going to change what's going to be the new norm for us.
True. Though it's not at a macro level, for all of us, for teachers, we always look at the micro level, because grassroots level with students. But do you think government policies also need to change when it comes both for retail as well as for the food industry? Because everything is high. Taxes are high. What we charge in the last 2-3 years, they've gone over the roof in what we charge to the guests when they come to a particular outlet. Same thing in retail. So is there a demand? Because Lakshman, you are one of the decision makers, the policy makers, and your voice is heard. So is there going to be a change in government policy in terms of relaxation of tax, rate of electricity, tariff, or loans if an entrepreneur or an F&B outlet, or when you give a space in a retail or a mall to a particular section? Are there going to be a change in dynamics in that?
Should it be there? The answer is a very definite yes. Okay, so look at the number of livelihoods that have got derailed in the current environment. Even to keep a lot of our businesses up and running, it's a matter of how much loss can you afford, and it's not about how much you can make, and that's the reality. And by the way, without giving in too much, there are quite many retail and quite many organizations which are going to be shutting shop in the current environment. And retail is a very large employment generator for the country. So I'm sure and I'm optimistic that the government should change the policies and come to terms with what the world requires to keep operating. Having said that, in my mind, I'm not trying to leave things to these policies, because India also, and our experience in operating stores across the country, to even put into a regulation that has been passed by Ministry of Human Ministry across pan India. There is such a deviation on locally. What is passed by the Home Ministry is not accepted by local states. So I'm not putting all my hopes on it, but I think it should do to save. It should do a lot more to save these companies from getting extinct. Um, and I was telling you about the other retail formats. I mean, my heart goes out to these people because they're not even earning revenue. And I wish the other speaker, Mr. Rajaram Pai, who represents Soch, is one such example. And today I think he was running a store personally to support his team, and which is the reason why he couldn't join us. But give you your context, these stores were not operating for the last 40 days. And as an employer, you have both ethical and financial legal responsibility to pay them. But if you don't earn anything, how are you going to pay them? So I think the government should step in. I have a fair amount of confidence that they should, bring in measures to mitigate. But these are different times, and so I will keep my fingers crossed and hope that they bring these changes.
In another few minutes, I'm going to unmute all the speakers so they can directly flag you or ask a question. But before that, the last question to both of you all was one of the participants have asked is that exchange of money is also going to change, right? Already with government policy last few years, hard cash is going down. We say that, but then again, it comes somehow, get back into that particular system. But with this, maybe one card works for all, not just your credit card, or definitely transaction of money is going to definitely also change at all levels.
That's true.
And that's maybe a big market for entrepreneurship. Do you think so? Also, Arun and Lakshman.
Okay. Post 2018, I think our cash to non-cash transactions changed from being 18% to currently we are at 45% of non-cash transactions. That's how our business has moved. My sense is that post-COVID, this should go up to 75% of non-cash. When I say non-cash, it means the cards and the digital wallets and all those. So that's the change. But in a large country like India, how much ever I would wish, I think cash isn't going to disappear. That's going to be reality, and therefore there would be another business idea of how to actually accept cash and sanitize it before it goes into the cash till. So there'll be all these ideas that will come and opportunities that will present themselves for entrepreneurs who are very enterprising at that level. But cash component is going to come down for sure, and has to come down. It's for the safety of our customers, and it's for the safety of the team members who are dealing with cash. So there will be a new world. I think that is going to change. I think there's Mihir has asked this question. Even the question was about self-payment. I think there will be not beyond cash and non-cash. I think there will be shopping experience related changes where a customer should be able to check out himself or herself when they are doing this. Okay. We've also done these pilots. A lot of retailers have been doing these pilots, and they were note takers. And I'm talking, frankly, something that as recent as 2 months back, where we had a self-checkout kiosk in one of our stores. We did a pilot, and I think the customers just prefer, we as Indians like to be served. That's how I would put it. I hope this changing times will change this, and we cannot afford to be. We would put more premium for no touch. If you don't want anybody to touch, then check out yourself, and that may be a win-win from a customer and a retailer perspective. So we'll have to watch this and see how this emerges.
Yeah, definitely the cash component has gone down. Even the food aggregators like Zomato, Swiggy, they have stopped accepting cash now. And in restaurant level or QSR level, I think also things will change drastically. And I think the cash component will go down. And the digital and wallets and all this will come into play more. Less of cash transactions will happen.
I think by and large, a lot more than cash. I remember being in US multiple years back, I think 2013, where social distancing was actually the norm. I mean, it wasn't something new. You would, if you were to ever go into any store in countries like Europe and in continents like Europe and America, you would typically find people respecting personal space. That's not how we in India are used to. I mean, just get into a Bombay local train and there goes your personal space for 6. So personal space is not something that I think in Indian retail experience uh, we were aware or conscious about. In fact, we wanted the opposite, right? We want to go to a store where there are hundreds of people and you want to be the 89th person in the row and you feel more excited about it. I think those days will change, and I think there will be far more respect for social distancing, which will have an impact, but on the business. But I think that's there, and I think it's good to come. There couldn't be a better time for it to come.
Yeah, I think retails will evolve because if instead of going to large markets and buying it, I think maybe if you're a little more organized in the way you serve the customer, because one thing we have seen in this COVID lockdown is that it has hit at all levels. There is, it's not just the educated or the working class, but at all levels, people are informed about the current situation, and they definitely health comes first to everyone concerned. I'm going to unmute everyone. There are a lot of questions which you all have done, so that maybe the participants can directly ask both Lakshman as well as Mr. Chanda. There's one of the requests. It's a Mr. Lakshman, you made a amazing slide. With all the participants. If it's confidential, then we'll keep it as it is.
Deepa, sorry, I couldn't hear you. I think you were talking about the presentation, right? Well, I will share a version which you can surely share with the students.
Please unmute yourself if you're going to ask a question. If you're not going to ask a question, and ask a question.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, this is Sanket here.
Yes.
Good evening, all. I am Sanket here. I'm a first year undergraduate student at the Department of Management Sciences, PUMBA, BBHFE. So my question is to both of you.
Sanket, we can hear you. Please go on.
Yes, ma'am. So question is, what all communication tips would you like to give to upcoming entrepreneurs? Or
Sanket, you're not audible.
I think his question is, what are the tips that we would like to give for the upcoming entrepreneurs?
Yeah, for proposing value to the customers.
I think the world is changing, Sanket, and I'm not an entrepreneur myself, so I'm not equipped to say suggest. But a smart entrepreneur will identify opportunities. This new world will find new opportunities, and the one who's really smart, like I was telling you about this lady who quickly moved out of apparel into manufacturing masks. You suddenly see so many sanitizer brands. Where were they until 2 months back? So I think someone who's smart and who's hooked on to customer and expectations will find, and that's the real need to be a good entrepreneur. And all of you must have heard this hundreds of times, but I'll repeat: cash is very premium. So any entrepreneur making a wrong decision is going to be hit far more strongly than he or she would have been hit last year. So cash is premium. An idea has to be rock solid before somebody plunges. That's my 2 cents.
To answer your question, I think you have to find your niche. You have to know what you're good at, and then do your research and make a business plan, see the viability, then go for it. But find your niche first. That is very important. What is your niche? What are you good at?
The other additional suggestion I would definitely give, Sanket, for anyone who wants to start a new business, please don't refer to the past, because the past is not valid anymore. And this is true for all our business. So if you say, listen, I know a friend of mine who started these spare parts for automobiles. Guess what? Automobile industry is down the drain, and you want to make spare parts for it. I mean, that's not the business. So the world is new. There's going to be changed, a revised norm. So you have to think in terms of what is important from a customer perspective, and what's there as a demand. And any business that you start should have demand for it, obviously. So you have to watch it carefully and not refer to the past successes anymore. You don't want to open a travel agency for sure.
Thank you so much, sir.
Very well said. I think, the good thing we are placed in, especially hospitality HM industry, is there's so many avenues of service sectors, whether it's in housekeeping, whether it's in kitchen, etc. I think we should start looking ahead instead of looking behind of how do we change and what we can offer. And automatically an opportunity may be created if I can put in my 2 bits in it. Yes.
Yes.
Is there anyone else who would like to put in a question before we have Arya coming in? And the last, before we give our vote of thanks, and if anyone else has a question, Lakshman and Arun, is there something as a last parting thing you can say? We are definitely, all of our out here, the teachers are looking at some amount of 2 things. If retail can give employability, number 1, or if they can give people for internship for some time. If you are looking at someone who does not have to be a full-time worker, but you look at part-time work, then that would be a great boon even for people of colleges, because students can work part-time, they get to know the industry and vice versa. Things evolve in 6 months and maybe they can look for a job here down the line.
Sure, I'll come to that, but I'm just seeing the chat, and I think there's a question that Amar Chavan and Imran have asked. Let me answer those. Amar, to your question, does the retail industry, will it have new SOPs? Believe me, we are actually, we are almost falling short of having an SOP on when to sleep and when to wake up. Other than that, everything else is on SOPs, okay? And far more relying on SOPs now than ever before. So yes, and that's going to be the core to our business. And Imran's question is, pricing and hygiene plays an important part in the, yes, of course, but in the order I would put hygiene, in 1 to 10 scale, I would put hygiene as 10 out of 10, and pricing right now would be 5 on 10. Because you can get a low price, but you don't know where you're getting it from. So therefore, for example, we're getting into the mango season. Do you want to be buying something at a low price, but which could be carbide ripened? Or do you want to pay slightly more, but it has been safely ripened? So pricing will find a new balance right now. What should be our appetite for risk? Sanket asked another question, says, what should be our appetite for risk in retail industry? Actually, anybody's appetite is dependent on how much is the cash balance that they have. And if you are in negative cash balance, your appetite is already gone. And that's a reality, and that's true for any retail chain, including us. And we are watching our money very, very carefully. And I know of few brands which have already struggling to keep stores open. So appetite is very low, Sanket, very, very low, I would say. Food and grocery retail is like walking on a thin ice, because unlike in apparels and general merchandise where there are some decent margins, in food and grocery you don't have margins, and you have to run the stores with a very, very high level of efficiency in terms of cost to make hopefully any money, and the pot of gold is very, very small and very far away. So we're trying to forget the balance, but appetite is very low is all I can tell you.
To both of you all, there's a question asked, how do you make people spend now in the next 2 years?
I think the spending part of it,
Yeah.
We will continue to consume, Deepa, and I don't think there's going to be any shortage on our consumptions as human beings. Okay, the choice, it's all about where will they consume. Will they sit at home and cook, therefore food and grocery, or will the restaurants and food eateries open up and feel safe so that I can go and eat there. The consumption will remain. It's just a matter of who's ready to offer it to the customer in the right way. So I think the demand is going to be there. It's about being able to be the first mover to do that.
Your parting shots, Arun?
Yeah, I'm actually answering to someone else.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. What was the question? Sorry, I was concentrating on this.
Answer the query, please.
Okay. So basically, Amaya has asked, what is it like seeking a drop down? What kind of strategies seafood specialty restaurant and seafood processing industry may adopt? I think fish and seafood has a lot of health aspects attached to it. So we have to promote the health benefits of fish and seafood, because a lot of people will have already adapted to vegetarian food nowadays, and a lot of people like myself having vegetarian food for the last 40-45 days. I'm a hardcore non-veg guy, and I can understand a lot of people are going to seek good vegetarian food, and also maybe fish eating will increase. I think if you can actually promote. In fact, I'm opening a fish QSR chain called in Lucknow and Delhi, a couple of outlets. This is going to be the first fish QSR chain in India. So we have done a 2 years research on this, and I think fish has a huge, seafood has a huge scope in this market. Amaya, I think you got your answer.
Okay. There's a question that I see from Anil that says, should the timings of retail increase to cater to more customers? We would love to have as much time as possible for business, but each state, each city is having certain restrictions in the current context. And most part of our country, we are opening stores for only a few hours. Our operating efficiency in terms of working hours is only 65% across the country. In some states like AP, it's down to 30%. In some states like West Bengal and Kerala, we are better off. So it's a state level decision, and we would obviously be happy to keep it open for as long as we are allowed. But there are restrictions, Anil, and that's the reason why we will be compliant to that for this period.
So Neha Saxena has a question: with people shifting to home food and relying less on the restaurant and hotel foods, how is hotel industry, especially the chefs, planning to cope with the change? Okay, now, as I said, that a lot of B2B food industries will prosper right now, and chefs have to look for new avenues and think about joining from a B2B organization rather than go to a B2C organization. So there'll be a lot of opportunities for them if they want to actually think. You have to think non-traditionally right now, and think what are the new ways the hotel industry is adapting to, and just change with time, change with how the industry changes. Just follow it.
That's an interesting point. Yes. I think even Mr. Sachin Raivkar, you can answer that question, Arun.
Yeah, Sachin, where do you see the standalone restaurants doing?
Yeah, that's your forte. Because
I think I already answered this question, but still I'll tell you, we have to adapt to new technologies, as I said, and keep in constant communication with our customers. We have to, establish an emotional connect with our customers, giving that safety, sending the message of safety and hygiene at all point of time, and thinking about innovative, offerings basically, which will attract the customers. And I think that's the only way. Stay in connect and offer good items which will attract them. Like, you have a captive market right now. People are not traveling. People are staying at home, so they need some kind of entertainment, some kind of food. They must be they're bored about cooking at home, and the children also are stuck at home. They can't go to school. Children, I think they are, they want their pizza, they want their snack, they want their noodles, and how many times you can cook at home and make them happy. So you have to figure out the delivery process has to be really good, and we have to adapt to those changes now. And that's how even a standalone restaurant has to depend a lot on delivery of food, and also sending their chefs home to give them a restaurant experience at home.
I think my perspective is that standalone restaurants are likely to gain. I mean, this again relatively compared to places, restaurants in places like malls and all that, because it's mostly proprietary managed, and they are going to be fast in adapting to the statutory rules and regulations, and I think the customers will feel it faster and easier, especially if they like the taste. So ultimately, it's the quality of the food and compliance to the safety. I think these will stand to gain more relatively. Chanda would be the best judge on this.
Yeah. Maybe here a little bit I'll agree with both Arun and here, because instead customers may be ready to pay a little bit more, compared to a regular street vendor, etc. If they know that the hygiene and the quality of what food is being offered is taken care of. Is it true that we will think about putting retail overnight also? Somebody has asked that question. I've got a WhatsApp. Maybe a 24-hour thing, because so people feel a midnight shopping, for example, where there's less a crowd or whatever. Does it work?
Okay, so that's a question that I don't know the answer for right now, Deepa. Reality is I don't think it works. Okay, there's some of these nice to do things, and coming with the background of how financially these businesses are going to be hit. It's not viable. I mean, let's think about it. If you were to have a more supermarket at somewhere near your home, open at 3 a.m., how many times in a month would you go and purchase? I think the important thing is to operate in convenient hours, being close to your home, following the hygiene and aspects, and having, of course, the good quality of product and range. Those would be more premium. The rest would be nice to do. Will some of people in our fraternity do? Will more do? Maybe we may do, actually. We may do that. And it's always been in my mind a model for me to explore, but I wouldn't do that in the background of COVID impact. I would do it as a model to pilot and just get a sense of, well, and some markets, especially if you are, in a high street location and there is crowd and a metro kind of a place, you may want to explore that, but that's a reason beyond COVID. That's what I would think. I also want to respond to a question that I got from Sayush, who says if they got a job in retail, what is the preparation required? Should they do any course? Sayush, I don't know which retailer you got a job in, but congratulations for getting there. But my suggestion is just be prepared for extreme hard work. So if you're not yet hitting the gym, please go and hit the gym and get yourself physically prepared for it. And I think that's the good work that you can do. Don't worry about these online courses and those things will come to you naturally. Just wait for it to come naturally. Get the basics in retail first, and get that people connect aspects. Look at your own. Question yourself on your people ideologies. Are you a theory X or a theory Y guy? And look at introspect. Maybe this is the time for you to, and look at the leaders who inspire you and learn from them. And don't worry, you will settle well. Don't worry.
That's so well said. I think to the students, there are a lot of faculties also out here, because we have this. We have the opportunity to influence students positively, and I think that the way I get from both of y'all, there's only so much more to do. There's so much opportunities. Either you start honing your online skills, find out what you want. If you want to get into entrepreneurship, look at the various sectors. Don't go at past experience. The millennials are fearless. So maybe you can think about what are the new things which you can do if you want to get into entrepreneurship. Definitely what I'm getting a sense from both of them is use your penny very, very wisely now. Each penny counts. Risk factor has to be much lower than what it was before. But there's only way forward. and that's a fantastic opportunity in 1 or 2 years to get into it. And of course, a lot of people keep asking if they want. I think the questions are again, FSI training will be given. I think that is already being given. I'm going to last, if anyone else has a question, let's go to it, and then maybe I'll ask Arya to give a thank you note. And because I think it's so much interesting to listen to what both Mr. Lakshman and Arun have to say. I want to tell that we hope that you come to Pune. Both of you are so prolific all over. Arun has been working with a lot of standalone restaurants in Pune and Bombay when he's in India. Lakshman, of course, is very difficult to catch. Getting him for 2 hours on a Sunday was his request. Otherwise, he's working 24/7. I must say that, to ensure that there is a chain which is on. And it's not easy when we get our food essential items in a retail store. There is so much to it. And that effort is being put by teams of Lakshman and his whole team. So thank you so much. We applaud the hospital people. We applaud the other organization. We believe retail are into profit making. We really applaud you because there's a lot of risk factor also which goes into it. So thank you for ensuring essentials come to our doorstep. Yes, Arya, can we have your vote of thanks, please?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, esteemed speakers, faculty, and all participants. On behalf of BBHFM, I would like to propose today's vote of thanks. I would like to start by thanking Mr. Lakshman and Chef Arun Chanda for taking out their time and coming to discuss with us and help deepen our understanding about the retail industry and survival and revival in it. We look forward to being associated with you in the future. Next, I would like to thank our HOD, Dr. Surbhi Jain Maam, for being here with us today, our course coordinator, Dr. Deepa Ma'am, for moderating today's session, and the seminar self for their efforts in making the session a success. I would also like to thank Dr. Arti Prabhu Ma'am and Amay Sir for their constant support. I would also like to thank all the participants for sparing their time to be here with us today. Thanks all.
Thank you so much. Before we end it, I think so, because we have time, if we can have a version